So Krynvar looks like they are backing off. Did they manage to sneak that army out? Does not look like it. Does Soldier Sat have a navy? They have a very small one. Yeah, a couple of transports. Oh, sorry, a couple of light ships. I was thinking if they had transports, they could probably have done a Dunkirk-style evacuation. In fact, Soldier Sat owns all of this. They could easily have just walked up the back and then around. Unfortunately, they got cut off here too quickly, so I don't know what happened to that 50k. I'm guessing they just died to that force there. I built a castle in the swamp, then it sank in the swamp. So I built another castle. It sank too. But I kept on building them until they didn't sink no more. And now it's the only castle in the swamp. If only there was some sort of history about an Anbennar multiplayer game where letting the big empire south, let's call it not Jad, run over things was a bad idea. Yeah. It's a repeat of last time. If it's not Jad, it's Phoenix Empire. They just don't have enough rivals in the area that can actually contain them. It's kind of like my problem with Russia and multiplayer games as well. It's just like, yeah, you can have the entirety of Russia and probably half of China too, just because there's nobody else that's going to be playing up there, unless maybe you get a Horde player. Actually building transports, though, I think probably a little bit late at this point. Maybe planning for some sneaky attacks around the edges? Fully maintained forts, 0.19. Yeah, so definitely the lesson here for Soldier Sat is needs more forts. Ooh, one of the fixes of Origins. I don't know how much I can actually talk about this, but I want to talk about this one. We fixed the AI, so the AI actually builds and upgrades forts now. That was a very serious pet peeve of mine for quite a long time. And it made games like Anbennar easy, because at some point you'll be like, yeah, I've got level 8 forts and loads of them. AI hasn't built any? Fixed. Area of the map, the first war is death. If you don't win the war is a problem, I think you said on Wednesday. Yeah, so I don't know if it's as bad as the organisers made out, but basically the idea is it's a death war. You either win or you lose. There is no win but hold out type situation like these guys kind of had. Because all of the Phoenix Empire's claims are on Jad, and all of Jad's claims are on the Phoenix Empire. Like, it's either one or the other rises. There is no balance of power in this region at all. And I think that's honestly kind of bad for the game as a whole, because of the way it just screws with trade, as we talked about last session. They just completely dominate it. There's nothing you can do about it. But then again, I think that is going to be somewhat countered once we see more nations down here. If there are some nations down here that can properly counter the Phoenix Empire and cause a bit of a balance of power situation here, then I think things will improve. But the problem is there just isn't right now. And so the Phoenix Empire feels a lot stronger than they perhaps are. Oh, that's true. Your Slackens aren't going to be as powerful now. No, you've lost Several thousand per slacken because of all this territory that you just gave up. And I'm a little surprised by how little attrition these guys are taking. Well, I guess it's plains, not desert. There's no Tsardom of Russia for the Middle Kingdoms to call upon once the Ottoman Empire comes rolling. And vice versa. Yeah, pretty much. It's just the Phoenix Empire, or Jad. After this war, the Phoenix Empire is going to have free reign in the East. I mean, they already kind of did. In some ways, I'm glad that someone's able to actually humiliate Soldier Sack, because I was kind of worried that they were just going to be the be-all, end-all. So I'm glad to have seen that disproven. But the fact that it's the Phoenix Empire and Kryenvar doing it, and the fact that those two are going to benefit the most from this, is concerning. So it looks like Kryenvar has finished the war against Karuvia, taken a couple more territories. We'll see just what they lost. I think it was mostly this. And Aranan also expanded. Although Aranan is also AI. That's another player war. Drake's Guard. Ebethil has declared war on the Phoenix Empire. Okay, now that's going to be interesting. Ebethil and Vern against the Phoenix Empire. And they are going to be able to strike to the coast. Vern has already landed over here. In Ebethil. How much of this is Ebethil and how much of this is Phoenix Empire? That's Keterata. So the border is literally there. And I think that Keterata is a Phoenix Empire vassal. So finally, Canor is rallying. And starting to strike at the Phoenix Empire. Now, I really am beginning to see Ebethil as something of a kingmaker. Probably secretly one of the most powerful nations on the map at this point. Like, they never looked massively influential, but you can definitely see it rising. Like, within the last session even, they have definitely started to spiral. I mean, they're third on the Great Power list. They just haven't exerted much influence until now. Now they're starting to get involved in world affairs. Vern coming in. Of course, Vern is no longer the Emperor. Lorent is. So Vern not quite as powerful as they once were. But with Ebethil's financial backing, they should be able to do a lot. Because Vern still has one of the most numerous armies on the map. And Phoenix Empire does have a line of forts through here. But nothing really back here. Just 4 forts. In fact, that's Keterata. Were you a vassal? Yes, you are. Thought so. And at the moment, it doesn't look like these guys are withdrawing any troops to go and fight them. And this is only against the Phoenix Empire. It is not against Keterata. Oh, sorry, Kryenvar. What's Abdul Khanzad doing during all of this? Oh, right, yeah. Conwell formed Esmaria. Forgot about that. And seemed to have grown even more. How much development does Esmaria have? Because you're a super tall nation. 1,000 development in just this. That's impressive. And you can see how big these provinces are just by the number of buildings are clustered around. The more buildings, the higher the development. Yeah, that's some crazy developing that they've been doing here. Like your standing armies right now. 220,000 from this. Impressive. Anyway, it does not look like they are opposing Vern and Ebethil in any way. We've got another Vern army arriving. Just, you know, a casual 108,000 troops landing. Vern's entire navy, of course, is just transports, because they need to be able to get over here to protect their colonies. Meanwhile, Soldier Sat has started to strike back again. It looks like the Phoenix Empire and Kryenvar are withdrawing. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't just leave the Kryenvar to hold off Soldier Sat and basically turn this into a stalemate while Phoenix Empire goes and fights the invader. Because Kryenvar's not in this fight. Oh yes they are. I stand corrected. So Ebethil has also declared war. No, Kryenvar declared war on Ebethil. The Kryenvar humiliation of Ebethil, because those are rivals. So even though these two aren't allied, they're still declaring wars together. At least they're separate wars, so you can punish them both equally. Ovdor Kanzad going in deeper into the mountains over here. I mean, they'd taken that central hold last time, but yes, I fully expect them to start incorporating all of this. And from there, honestly, they'll actually have a pretty decent realm. They'll be very, very difficult to attack as long as they build forts on all the entrances, and maybe a province or two behind. Because once the cannon dwarves set down their guns, they are very difficult to push out of the way again. What ideas have they taken? Industrial, quality, diplomatic and strategic. So the one problem that Ovdor Kanzad may have is morale. I'd really like to say them take defensive. I think honestly defensive would have been better than quality. I get why they did it, because they're trying to stack up the artillery. But I really do think that defensive would have been a better choice for them. Like, the key to Ovdor Kanzad's survival is forts. Stick them in the holds. -2 attack penalty, nobody's going to get through that. Especially if you get some decent defensiveness going as well. Oh, we have a battle. Soldier Sat has found one of the Phoenix Empire's armies. It's 100,000 against 200,000. We do have another 100,000 Soldier Sat armies standing very nearby. We do see Phoenix Empire slowly but surely feeding troops into the meat grinder. 30,000 of Soldier Sat's finest are getting ready to move in as well. Hopefully they have not mistimed this and the front lines die. Nope, it doesn't look like they have. Soldier Sat bringing more and more troops. There is a danger here that Phoenix Empire could go and try and attack them in the back. It looks like they're still feeding everything into this central fight slowly but surely. But there we go. We see the Phoenix Empire sending in some troops with their more numerous force limit numbers, as opposed to manpower numbers, around the flank to attack Soldier Sat's reinforcement forces. But it does look like Soldier Sat has managed to outmaneuver the Phoenix Empire, and even with just 100,000 troops against 300,000 are holding, although they are taking some pretty freaking hefty losses. And now this group is going to get attacked by the 90,000 and probably killed. So unfortunately I think that just numerically Soldier Sat's going to lose this one. And that was just lack of awareness. Phoenix Empire sent packing. Soldier Sat holds. And they're sending in troops to try to help these guys out, but I think that's probably going to be too late. They are sent packing, but this is 130,000 coming in against 50. And again, Soldier Sat take less damage to reserves. So even though they've completely overstacked this battle, they should be fine. And in fact, might even be trying to go for a stack wipe, though they don't have the troops for that. Soldier Sat just have such an overwhelming amount of morale. And there we go, Phoenix Empire sent packing. Phoenix Empire may only... Actually, where are you going to retreat to? Out of interest. It's not just next door, is it? No. They're going back over here. Okay, fair enough. So for the moment, Soldier-Sat looks like they are set to prepare a bit of a counterattack. We do have Krynvar and Vern forces and Eberthil forces coming in here. We have Necklife attacking in the north. 6662 General. Good grief, Vern. And I'm guessing that combat width at the moment is 32. Yes. Just casually 300,000 men, just, you know, just there. Just be like, alright, how's it going? Eberthil with 640,000 manpower in the bank. Vern with 216. Vern actually a little bit tapped after their previous engagement, but Eberthil completely fresh. Eberthil's like, you know what? I don't care. It's cool. No worries. Just finished a career game, had a morale of 9.8 or 10. Wow. Actually, to be fair, I think I've done a France game with something similar. Revolutionary France is just scary. Ah, Torshin joining. So Torshin in... I can never remember where Torshin plays. Ah, crikey, where does Torshin play? Lorent, of course he is. Oh, was there no Lorent today? I thought Torshin had a reserve until he came. Unless that reserve just quit so that Torshin could come in. That's possible. Is that the child of Hannibal and Napoleon that studied under Sun Tzu, 666 general? It's a pretty beefy general. That's why I'm kind of curious in the Gnomish Hierarchy game, because we just got a revolutionary nation in fake India. I'm really... I think they're going to win that. I think that is going to turn revolutionary. And that's going to be really interesting because it's a really big country. So you're just going to have the revolution sweeping in from the east while the west tries to resist through their monarchist ideals. Several times in that Gnomish Hierarchy game I've been like, you know what, we're probably reaching the end of this. And then something big happens like, nope, still interesting. Like the Coalition Wars. That kind of saved that series for me. Like, it will take a big coalition to even threaten Gnomish Hierarchy in that game. But we keep on triggering it. Keeps on happening. So, Lorent, no golden era. They could start a golden era, so that is... pretty good example of there definitely having been a sub, otherwise the AI would have triggered that golden era. But we were aware that Torshin was going to be an hour late, which is all good. It's fine. Speaking of being late, I need to tell someone I'm going to be late for something else. No, it's actually the D&D game in 2 weeks. I'm going on holiday, and I know that I'll be an hour late for the component cast game. Should probably be seeing this from Eberthil's perspective, seeing as they're actually fighting both Krynvar and Phoenix Empire at the moment. Some very, very hefty Vern armies. That is actually a mountain fort, which is pretty nicely placed. So is that. So if we just go to the simple terrain overview, I've never actually played in this area. Like, this does not feel like mountains to me. But I guess if we zoom in, you can see that they definitely are. Interesting. Yep, that's definitely mountain. You know, I don't think I've ever looked in this area before. Ever. In terms of terrain map mode. Like, obviously this is mountain, but I just did not expect this to be. Or this. So Phoenix Empire has put some very, very well placed forts here. I quite like that. That's protecting this entrance. There isn't actually anything protecting down here. And at that point you're into the floodplains. Fort up there protecting up here. Fort here protecting this. Yeah, so this whole area is actually exceptionally well defended. It's just the floodplains which aren't, so you need to break through the south. Through Elisna. Is Elisna in this war? They're a vassal, aren't they? No, they're not. They're pretty much going to have to attack these forts, and in fact that fort could potentially be even more dangerous, being a river crossing fort. That would maybe be a -3 combat roll for attackers. Meanwhile, Phoenix Army is rallying themselves in the north, so it does look like it's Krynvar that's mostly gone to fight Vern and Eberthil. Unconditional surrender from whom? Eberthil? Why? I guess they're just trying to get Krynvar out of the war, but this could really screw Eberthil. They could lose some colonies from this. Oh, Eberthil, what are you doing? You have 639,000 manpower. You're fine. What the hell? That's a humiliation war, so yeah, he really is just trying to get rid of the Wood Elves. Seems a bit gamey. But then again, the fact that the Wood Elves keep on declaring wars on whoever the Phoenix Empire does, despite not actually being allied, is also kind of gamey. Interesting. I really wish I could see the logs to see what was taken there, but I'm guessing it was just a show strength. Yeah, 100% power projection. Wait, you were rivals with Karuvia? You still? No. Small country, Adenica and Eberthil. I guess at the time Karuvia was actually fairly large. Alright, so it's just the Phoenix Empire. That was a pretty savvy move. And now they can go on and take the forts. Meanwhile, Soldier Sat and Phoenix Empire are fighting again in the north, but with none of Krynvar's armies to support that this is just a 1v1. And I'm guessing that we're going to see Krynvar shifting northwards to fight against Soldier Sat, because that's actually a conquest CB, rather than a humiliate. Oh, Ovdal Khanzad has condottieried troops. Unfortunately, they're joining after the battle, so those Kanzad artillery are unlikely to get into the fight. But then again, they've just lost most of their artillery, so maybe that was just perfectly timed. This is too slow. Soldier Sat's morale is just so absolutely outrageous. But now you have... Oh, yeah, see, again. Phoenix Empire, that's the second time you've reinforced too slowly. And unfortunately, it's Optal Kanzad that suffers for that. Because they just took a massive chunk of damage to their artillery in the back line. Because somebody let them get into the front. That was very badly managed. And these units are way too far behind. And another defeat for the Phoenix Empire. And I think this might even be a stack wipe. Yep. So Kreinvar is again moving through the woods and the plains and the mountains to get to Soldier Sat's front. Then I'm guessing we're just going to see a whole-scale switcheroo of those two moving around. However, unfortunately, the Phoenix Empire's heartland is now under direct threat. Because we just have the fort here of Fernduum that needs to be taken. And then after that, this is all open. Up to these. And there's quite a lot of developments in here. I'd be significantly less okay with Eberthil's surrender if the Wood Elves didn't game that didn't game that to get into the war in the first place. Same. Which is why eventually I just kind of went, eh. Kreinvar is about to arrive. Phoenix Empire maxing out their military power there. Do we have an edict here? No, we didn't. That could have held Vern up for a little bit longer, but now the real damage will start being done. Phoenix Empire, again, completely out of manpower at this point. Financially, they are okay. In fact, they're better than okay. They're still making a small fortune. Mostly production income. Interesting. Vern, meanwhile, pushing ahead and taking those forts out. Not sure what Eberthil's doing. Oh no, they've got an army down there. But most of the land combat here should be done by Vern because they have just a better military. If we just take a very quick look, so Vern has got quantity and strategic, whereas Eberthil has strategic and offensive. So no, actually, I kind of rate Eberthil's army a bit more here, because he's managed to get such a huge amount of manpower and troop numbers without quantity. And as a result, he's taken much more of the quality stuff. So even though his standing army is not as big as Vern's, they'll hit harder. Vern has the Wyvern modifiers. Ah, true. Yeah, I've not really looked at what Vern can do. Infantry combat ability, artillery combat ability, but they may also have fire and shock modifiers.